I'm Debbie with Book and BuJo. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. Today we're going over my January stats and wrap-up. As usual, we will start with the stats and then we'll go through all of the books, what I read, what I may or may not have thought of them, and if I actually finished or not. So let's start with the stats. I read 12 books in January, which was pretty good. Although I did have 13 books on my TBR, so didn't quite make it. The shortest book I read was 29 pages, and that was Unpredictable Magic by Christine Scholes. And the shortest audiobook I listened to was All's Well That Ends Well by William Shakespeare, and that was 2.5 hours. The longest book I read was 630 pages, and that is Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, the second book in the Gentleman Bastard series. And the longest audiobook I listened to was just under 26 hours, and that was Red Seas Under Red Skies. I read 4,278 pages in January, and I listened to 74 hours and 49 minutes of audiobooks. I participated in 4 readathons and 3 book clubs. Okay, for format, going back to my handy dandy stats page here, I read 2 audiobooks, 6 ebooks, 1 physical book, and then the other 3 were mixed media, so either audiobook and ebook or audiobook and physical book. For audience, I read 8 adult books and 4 young adult books. I borrowed 6 books from my library, and I borrowed 3 books from other places, so friends, family, things like that. And I owned 4 of the books I read, which is good. 4 more books off my owned TBR. My average star rating is 4.0, which is great. 4 stars, wonderful. I had 4, 3, and 3.5 stars, and then I had 8, 4, 4.5 stars. For genre, I did read 1 classic, 1 magical realism book, 9 fantasy, shocker, and 1 horror. And then for series, I started 4 series, but I continued 3, and I didn't complete any. I read 1 self-published book, 6 indie books, and 5 traditionally published books. So not too bad. A little bit more indie self-pub over traditional this month. That was nice. For my favorites, my favorite book was The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. It was very interesting. I enjoyed reading that one. My favorite author is Jade Juniper, and I read The Solstice Court, which is the first book in the Thrice Kingdom from her. My favorite movie was Back in Action. It was super cute. It's definitely a throwback nostalgia type movie from kind of some 80s action movies. It was very fun. It's got Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz. It was really cute. So they're kind of ex-spies, assassin type people who have now retired and they now have a family and stuff happens. But I would highly recommend it. It was very cute. My favorite TV series was The Great British Baking Show. I'm finally all caught up now to whatever Netflix has. And I also watched the holiday one, so that was really fun. And then actually when I went to my doctor's appointment in January, they actually had the Celebrity British Bake Off on the TV while I was in the waiting room. It was pretty funny. My favorite podcast for January was the Planner Pals podcast, and that's with Mark from Mark Your Pages and Jess from Jashi Curran. And then my favorite YouTuber for January was Sarah Hart's Books. I will leave her channel link down below in case you want to check her out as well. Oh, another stat. I forgot this one. It was kind of hiding. I wrote it in small in here. I did read 1 debut, 6 new to me authors, and then 5 authors that I have read from before. And that is not including books I did not read. So, well, let's go over the books. For my TBR Obole, my first book was All's Well That Ends Well by William Shakespeare, and I did read that one, and it has solidified in me that I totally appreciate William Shakespeare, but it just is too, yeah, it's not for me. Although I am reading Hamnet and Hamlet for February, so that'll kind of be my last one, I think. And then my next book was One Dark Window for a Gothic book, and that was by Rachel Gillig, the first book in the Shepherd King series, and I loved that one. I thought it was really interesting. I definitely want to continue and see where it goes from there. I had just a great time. I didn't know what to expect. I'd heard some mixed reviews. Some people really liked it. Some people were like, meh. But I'm on that I liked it side. I thought it was really fun. My next role was to read the next book in the Fated series, or the Fated Saga series by Rachel Humphrey Quinn, also known as Humphrey Quinn and Rachel Humphreys. And I do own 1 more book in this series. I don't remember exactly how many books. There's I want to say there's like 8 to 10 books in the series. I do own the first 4 books, so I will continue to at least read the 4th book at some point if it comes up in my game. But I'm not sure if I will purchase anymore. If my library has them, I will probably continue and read the whole series because it's fun. It kind of bridges the gap between middle grade and YA. So the characters are a little more on the YA side, but I think the story itself kind of lends more to an upper middle grade. So it's kind of right on that cusp in between. And you're following the Jacoby twins, and they realize that they have magic and they're not quite sure what to do about this, and a whole bunch of interesting things happen to them along the way. And of course, since I read the third book, which was Embrace, don't want to tell you a whole lot about just that one. So, but if you have some middle graders or some younger YA, I think this would be a super fun book for that. Or if you just want a cute and easy read that's still fantasy and kind of magical, this one's a fun one. Kind of a good palate cleanser and kind of reset the brain after some heavy books. It's just fun and light. Next was a classic, and that was to read 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I did read that one, and it was very interesting. That was kind of the magical realism book that I read. I would recommend that one. It's not for the quick and easy, lighthearted read. It's definitely a little slower paced, and you need to kind of pay attention to what's going on because a lot of the characters have the same names, because like Descendants, you have your senior, your junior, your third, fourth, fifth with the same name. So you have to kind of pay attention to what time period you're in because it kind of follows generations of the same family. And it was really interesting. It definitely broadened my horizons. And then I read, of course, Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. Loved it. I'm still enjoying it. I think I like the first book a little bit better, but I do really like this one. Well, and I will get to Republic of Thieves, which is over here off camera. You can't see it, which is the third book in the series. And then I read A Shade of Madness by Tiaga Abdallah, and this is the second book and the last that have been published so far of the Ashes of Averin series, and I did enjoy it. It took me a little while to get into it. Like the first third or so, I was kind of like, I'm going to finish it because I want to know kind of what happens, but I'm not really engaged. And then as the book went on, I got more engaged in the story, and by the end I did enjoy it. Probably closer to a 3.5 star read, but I still liked it. I still think the prequel novella is my favorite, but I did like that one. And then I read Unpredictable Magic, which is just a little short story by Christine Scholes. I believe it's probably part of a series, but it was just something that was released from the author, so it's not on like Goodreads or Storygraph or anything like that. But I did get it from the author, and it was good. I enjoyed it. It was something a little bit different. It's still in fantasy and magic and all of that. And then I had my Black Letter quote project, which I did do, and I will leave that linked up in the cards above if you want to watch me kind of do this a little bit. I had it with my reading journal Plan With Me. And then I read The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kin. Love that one. 4.5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it's something different, a little quirky, a little interesting. You're like, what is happening? And not quite along the same lines as Bunny, but a little further towards the Bunny than a normal book, I guess you could say. And I don't want to tell you anything about it because I think it's best just to go into that book blind and just enjoy the ride. And then I read A Court of Shadows by C.N. Crawford, and that is the first book in the Institute of the Shadow Fae, and this one was really interesting. So you have this fae that is just working in a bar, just scraping by, just trying to lay low and just be on her own. And a couple of thugs, so to speak, come into the bar and make a little trouble, and she ends up getting found out by the kind of Magic Institute where you're not allowed to just roam free. You need to kind of be a part of them and get certified type of thing. So it's kind of like a little bit of a Hunger Games style plotline where she ends up going to this institute. She has to train and pass these tests where you're not necessarily trying to kill the other contestants, but you have to defend yourself against demons and other things. You have to defend yourself physically, and you have to learn magic. And yeah, it's definitely kind of a fun book. So a little, not quite Serpent of the Wings of the Night and not quite Hunger Games, but kind of somewhere in the middle. And I thought it was very fun. Next was Real Self-Care, and this is by Pooja Lakshman, and I am getting really close. I have this much left, so I'm not quite done with it, but I am making headway. And there's, so far from what I've read, half of it have kind of resonated with me. I've really gotten something out of it, and the other half was just not geared towards me, I guess. It's good information, but I was like, So I either kind of already knew that or do that, or just didn't pertain to my particular situation where I am right now. But I am enjoying it, and I would definitely recommend this, especially to anyone that may have just a really stressful life situation, and you want to be able to figure out how to deal with that stress a little better. And I think this one is a great book for that. And then I read A Deadly Education, and this is by Naomi Novik, the first book in the Scholomance series. And this one kind of goes a little bit of the same vibes as Court of Shadows, some of the same kind of themes. Again, this is a school where you go and try and survive all that the school throws at you and the other students as well, and you try and make it to your next year. And I can't believe I waited this long to read it because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was so much fun. The sarcasm and the just snarkiness of the main character is amazing. I love it. And then the male main character was kind of fun. He was fun. So he's kind of a show off. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I love the dynamics between the two of them, and one of them being like, oh yeah, this is happening. The other one's like, what is happening? Is this a thing? Why? So yeah, I like that. And then I read The Solstice Court by J. Juniper, and this is the first book in the Thrice Kingdom, and I thoroughly loved this book. It was just so much fun. It was interesting. It was intriguing. The characters were fun, and you really get to know who they are and their quirks and all of that. This is a great book if you're in the mood for something a little more lighthearted, but still has some substance to it. Something where you want to kind of dig your teeth in a little bit, but you don't want to have to try too hard, but you still want a little bit of something. This book is great. You have a little bit of a love triangle, and you have competing kingdoms. So there's 3 kingdoms. 2 of them are kind of at war with the other, and the other one is like, nope, I'm neutral. I'm not part of this. You can't get onto my land, and I'm not going to interfere with what you're doing, but no. And of course, the rulers of the kingdoms, we have an ex-husband and ex-wife kind of thing going on. The leaders of the 3 kingdoms originally were all friends, and then something happened between 2 of them, and it ended up in war. And the war is still going on, and you have the heirs. So the heirs of the neutral kingdom, she needs to be neutral. She can't necessarily skew herself one way or the other to the other kingdom's heirs. And they all end up meeting at one point, and yeah, it's very fun. And then, of course, my 2 most anticipated reads for January, I have not finished. So I started all of the other books, and I don't know if I felt I wanted to save them to the end and just savor them, but then I wasn't reading as fast or as much as I normally do, and just having no energy in January. My brain wasn't working all that great either. And so, yeah. I did not get to all the books I wanted to. So right now I am 75% of the way through Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, and I understand kind of where people are coming from, where they don't necessarily like some of the directions they're going in, and it wasn't quite what they were expecting or wanted from this book. But so far I'm just enjoying the ride and not making any assumptions. I'm not trying to skew myself one way or the other, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a great time. I don't feel like I have any problems with the directions things are going so far, but again, I'm only 75% of the way through, so I am 1,000 pages in though, so I only have 400 pages left or something. Yeah, I think it's like a 1,400 page book, so I have about 400 pages left to go, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it and am glad I'm reading it. And then my most anticipated book is Forsworn by David Estes, and I am 15% of the way through. So Wind and Truth I am kind of reading and listening to on audiobook, and Forsworn I just have the ebook because the audiobook isn't ready yet. He uses Timothy Gerard Reynolds, one of my favorite audiobook narrators, and he is pretty backed up, so it's going to be, I think, May before the audiobook comes out. I believe. I could be totally wrong. Do not quote me on that. But it's going to be later this year before the audiobooks comes out. So I'm reading this one physically, so that one always takes me a little bit longer. But so far, at 15% of the way through, I am enjoying it, getting to know the new world. So he has 3 fantasy series out so far. They all have 5 books each. The First one is Fate Marked, the next one is Kingfall Histories, and then we have Forsworn, and they're all set in the same world but on different continents. And so you have different things happening, but you still have mentions from each of the different worlds in each of the books, which is really fun, and I love that. And this book starts out with a character. The first chapter starts pretty much with a character from Kingfall Histories, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yay! I'm so excited. So excited to see him in there. So that was cool. But I don't want to tell you who it is if you haven't read the other one, so because I don't want to spoil that person's fate in the other books. So yeah, I am enjoying this one. I cannot wait till, well, when I finish Wind and Truth, then I can spend a little more time on this one itself, and I am looking forward to that. And so yeah, out of 13 books from my TBR, I finished 10. I finished 10. I can count. I finished 10 of them, and I'm still working on 3 of them. And then for book clubs, I had the Beth and Beyond Book Club. I did finish All's Well That Ends Well for that one by William Shakespeare. For BuJo Buddies, I did not reread Nettle and Bone because I've already read that one by T. Kingfisher. For the Catch-Up Book Club, I had already read Malice by John Gwynne in December, so I didn't need to read that one. And then for the Game of Tomes, The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, I am probably this much way through. I don't remember. I was listening to it on audiobook, and then I got another audiobook that I needed to take precedence over that one. And this book is for January, February, March, so I will probably take all 3 months to finish that one. So I'm probably maybe like 8 or 9% of the way through. I'm a couple hours into it, and it's like a 25-hour audiobook. So the Hardcore Literature Book Club was 100 Days of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I did read that one. For Wheel of Time, The Gathering Storm by Robert Jordan is actually the February book, and I read that one in December too, actually. For the Wellread Book Club, we are to read Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, and I did get this one from my library, and I have not started this yet, so I will try and read this one in February. We'll see. And that's it for the book clubs and read-alongs. And then for readathons, I did not too bad. Buzzwordathon, Truth and Lies was the word, and I'm reading Wind and Truth, which I am getting close. I will finish it in February. So I didn't quite finish that one in January, but I did start it. And then Pattern on the Cover, I used Red Seas Under Red Skies because that has a pattern on it with the 4 corners repeats. Yeah. And then also has kind of a pattern that goes throughout the sprayed edges. So I used that, and I did finish that one. And for, oops, I gotta go back to Aeldia. I have not transferred that over yet. So Adventures in Aeldia. Ariel started 1B, and that was to read a book published in 2024, and she read The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and I love that. It was so cute. I love that book. For Karasu, he started at 1C, and he read The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, and again, that was to read a book published in 2024. TBR Knockout by Completely Melanie. The prompt is Dark in the Title, or Dark Themes, and I kind of doubled up those prompts and read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. For the Gooberathon, the 2 different prompts was read a favorite author, and for me that is David Estes, and Forsworn, which I did start but did not finish. And then for a new to you author, which was the other prompt, I read The Solstice Court by Jade Juniper. So I did complete that one. You only had to do one of them, so I did complete that one. And then Sufferthon, the other year-long one, was Join a Lifeboat, a book helps with your 2025 goals, or Fall In and Hope, a book you've been wanting to read. And actually, this book worked for both prompts, and that was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. And then we had TBR-a-thon by Leandra the TBR Zero, and I did the Books of Paradise, and I did pretty good. I did complete 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I did complete 12 of the prompts, and all the rest of them went with Wind and Truth, Forsworn, and Real Self-Care, and I didn't finish those. So I didn't quite complete all of them, but you didn't have to complete all of them. So I did quite a few. And then for the final book support group with Steph Loves, I did complete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the prompts, which isn't too bad out of 15. So not too bad. I did a little over half. And then I did start my buddy read at the end of January for our February book. And that one we will either finish at the end of February or start that in March. And that is Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. And so far that is the only February book that I have started. Yeah, I need to finish my big chunkers from January 1st before I can start my February books. And that is it for my January wrap up. So did you have any 5-star reads in January? I did not. I had 2 that were super close at 4.5 stars, and that was The Solstice Court by Jade Juniper and The Eyes of the Best Part by Monica Kim. I'm not sure why they didn't get 5 stars. Like they just, I feel like there was just like one thing more would have like bumped it over the top, but just as it was so close, but not quite there. I'm trying to be a little pickier with my 5-star reads this year. Usually I am pretty lax and easy with my 5 stars, and I'm trying to be a little more persnickety, I guess you could say. So if you had any 5-star reads, I would love to know. Leave them down in the comments below. Did you have any favorite movies or TV series that you were watching that you think I should check out? Let me know. I would love to. And if you made it this far in the video, leave an eyeball emoji of some kind in the comments below to let me know that you are here in honor of Monica Kim's The Eyes of the Best Part. And please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other bookish content. And until next time, keep reading. Bye!